Well, I want to thank again Monty and Creeks Coalition for the opportunity. This was an opportunity I think first availed itself to my general manager, Stan Williams. He was not able to be here today, and so he asked if I would substitute for him, and I was happy to do so. The theme of the talk really is greener visions of a concrete box. We've seen some of that this morning already. I'll run through some of the additional programs we have at the Water District that help address these issues. Next slide. I think many of you are aware of the Water District. You've heard our name with Richard's talk first thing this morning. Just a brief background, our mission of the district is a healthy, safe, and enhanced quality of life in Santa Clara County through watershed stewardship and the comprehensive management of water resources in a practical, cost-effective, and environmentally sensitive way. Next slide. And as all of us are aware, and you're here today as a result of your awareness, is that our county is rich with natural resources and water resources. We have 10 local reservoirs that store water for water supply in our county. We're very fortunate that we do have a local water supply, and we're not solely relying upon imported water for our water supply system. We have historic runs of Steelhead. We have both freshwater and tidal wetlands in our county. We have 400,000 acres of drinking water that are used and consumed by our residents and business owners and business visitors that come to our county every day. We have thousands of miles of creeks, and the actual square miles of our county is about 1,300. Next slide. But we do have a number of pressures that are facing us that you see evidenced here. We have demands for water, both urban and environmental demands. We have over 70,000 parcels that are in flood-prone areas. We have a number of species of interest in terms of protecting their habitats and trying to restore them. We have increased expectation for trails along our water courses. And as you saw in the remarks that were quoted by Craig Breon, oftentimes there may be conflict between protecting the natural habitat and providing for public access to them. And then we've had, just along our streams in the early days since '91, we had a 250% increase in requests for permits for land alterations near streams. And so, as was identified earlier, we've encroached upon our stream systems, and we have to monitor that encroachment very well. Well, we've known about our situation in our county for many years, and as late as 1998, we were facing an unprecedented challenge. We had at that time a sunset of a voter-approved benefit assessment. We had problems with revenue. We've heard talk just before my talk about the need for additional resources, which is always a growing problem. We had a Proposition 218 requirement that is a statewide condition which requires for voter passage of taxes to levy on property, you need 2/3 voter support, and certainly shifting community desires from previous elections. Next slide. We did some polling, and Richard alluded to that first thing this morning. We did some polling starting as early as '95, and there's two primary findings that we have, and they're consistent over time. One, our core issue, which is the business of the district, is flooding and water supply. As far as flooding goes, it barely resonates with voters. In fact, I think consistently since '95, I think if we asked likely voters, they said 7% of likely voters felt that they were personally impacted by flooding. And the other main finding, voters connected with the environment, with clean water, and with the healthy bay and trails. Next slide. So we did a lot of outreach as we developed a program in the late '90s. We had over 100 one-on-one meetings with business groups and other interested stakeholders. We had meetings with every city and every mayor and every council. We had a Blue Ribbon Forum to help us better understand how to meet the growing needs for water, for flood protection and protecting the environment in our county. Next slide. And so we went to the voters in 2000, and the results were a landslide in any other election except a 2/3 required election. We had 322,000 yes votes. We had 159 no votes. We needed 66.67 to pass. We had actually 66.92% of the vote to pass in this election. Next slide. And what did it realize for us? Well, we developed a program with community input called the Clean, Safe Creeks and Natural Flood Protection Program. And we viewed it as a comprehensive watershed management program. It was approved by the voters. It allowed for about $25 million a year for 15 years. And as I just alluded to, 66.9% of the voters said yes to that. What's in the plan? There's 4 main outcomes. Flood protection for home, schools, and transportation networks, clean, safe water in our creeks and bay, healthy creek and bay ecosystems, and trails, parks, and open space along waterways. Our first outcome, and this is the vast majority of the funds for that outcome, is for flood protection. And so it involves, in this project, which started in 2000 and we go to 2016, constructing flood protection capital projects to reduce the number of parcels that are subject to flooding. We use progressive flood protection design that reduces sedimentation and turbidity and improves the water quality. We're proud of the fact that we've learned from people like you and others that have valued the natural functions of those streams. So we try to integrate both the flood conveyance capacity component of our efforts with trying to keep and maintain those natural functions. So we're proud of that. Next slide. The outcome, too, has been clean, safe water in our creeks and bay. You just heard some discussion about total maximum daily loads. We've had funding in this program to help investigate and provide solutions for mercury in the Guadalupe watershed. We have patrols for illegal dumping, and as you know, it's an uphill battle, as mentioned earlier, and as you see in some of the photographs around the room. We have programs to help keep our creeks clean from toxic chemicals. We have a hazmat program that's 24/7 in which we respond to emergencies when they arise in the creeks from contaminants from chemicals. We have a trash cleanup program called the Good Neighbor Maintenance Program, where we work collaboratively with the communities to make sure we can be responsive to removing trash. Unfortunately, it's an ever-present problem, and it's one that the trash does not grow in the creeks. It seems to reside there, unfortunately, and we face a mounting problem of trying to keep the creeks clean from trash. And then we have a program of being active in reducing the graffiti. And we saw the concrete earlier in the slide, and one thing I was very happy about is there was very little graffiti on any of that concrete. Among the minor benefits of concrete. We do have a very active program of responding to complaints about graffiti and responding within 5 days. Next slide. Outcome 3, healthy creek and bay ecosystems, a major component of your thinking and many people in the community's thinking of trying to protect endangered species, restoring habitat, removing fish barriers, and so forth. And we have an active program throughout our district to fulfill this obligation. Next slide. And then finally, trails, parks, and open space along our waterways. Again, what we found when we polled individuals and people like yourselves, people want to recreate near our streams. And we're very fortunate in our county that we do have streams that are worthy of actually walking along. And so over the years, there's the Los Gatos Creek Trail. There's been a trail along the Guadalupe River by the district's headquarters. There's a trail now along the Guadalupe downstream of downtown. Someday, in the next few years, there'll be a trail from the bay in Alviso all the way up to Almaden Valley along the stream. So it's pretty exciting. And certainly trying to work with the local park districts and the cities and to partner with them so that we can, in fact, encourage the promotion of trails along our streams. Next slide. In addition, recognizing that we do flood control work and we try to avoid having to put concrete in the streams, our board developed what we called our multi-objective approach to providing flood protection. And there's 9 key points to that we try to balance as we do our work. Next slide. A model project that we think helped exemplify the change in direction of doing concrete-only flood control projects has been the Downtown Guadalupe River Project. We're excited about the completion of this project. It goes from basically Highway 880 to Highway 280 in downtown. Next slide. And this project was completed a couple of years ago, and the opinion that we did get in the Mercury News at the time said that at a time when government bashing is an overplayed sport, the Guadalupe River Flood Control River Restoration Project is a great example of how government can get it right. Next slide. So we build flood control projects, and we try to build them in a natural way that they're sustaining, that they have multifunction. But very important, as you also saw evidence in the video, is that we need to maintain those facilities for flood conveyance capacity. So we have a very ambitious program of our stream maintenance program, which is one of the unique ones in the state, if not the country, where we've obtained multi-year permits to perform that function. Next slide. And we're proud of the program because it's a locally developed program that really helps deliver our service in this regulatory climate that we find ourselves in. So we have a number of issues that face us in our streams. Our activities, as many of you are aware of, are highly regulated. In fact, I think we have over 500 different permit conditions that regulate how we work in the streams. We have a system at work at the district office where we track those 500 permit conditions. We identify who is a responsible district staff member, who is responsible for fulfilling those conditions. our computer system sends a notice to that individual that that permit condition is becoming due and they need to report out their progress in achieving the compliance issues of that permit. Next slide. So we have an ambitious permit program, and one of the comments we received from Craig Manson, the former Assistant Secretary for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks at the U.S. Department of Interior, said, "This 10-year program is an example of the way business should be done in the regulatory arena. It's also an example of the new environmentalism that focuses on consultation, communication, and cooperation, all in the service of conservation." And what you see on the right-hand side is the ongoing program we have. We talk about doing our work during the summer, where we actually get into the channels in mid-June, and we're out of the channels by the end of October. But you see that there's a whole list of work that we do in advance of and as a result of our work. We, you see at the top is ongoing regulatory staff support. We fund a full-time permanent position at both the Regional Water Quality Control Board and at the Department of Fish and Game to work specifically and exclusively on Santa Clara Valley Water District projects. We have pre-construction meetings and reports with those regulatory agencies in May. We do our work June to October. We have a post-construction report that we submit to the agencies, and then we have a lessons learned meeting. So we meet together with the regulatory agencies, interested stakeholders, our own district staff to review the past work we've done this last summer to learn what we can do differently or better in the future. Next slide. And as you saw also, we have to mitigate for our construction or our maintenance impacts. We're one of the few agencies in the state, if not the country, that have acknowledged that our routine stream maintenance have cumulative environmental impacts. We developed an environmental impact report, and as a result of that, we identified that we do have unavoidable impacts that have to be mitigated. And one such way we mitigated those impacts is through a restoration project we conducted with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the Bay. We assisted in funding and participated in monitoring the breaching of levees at the island ponds out there at the South Bay Salt Pond restoration effort. And that has resulted in the restoration of over 300 acres of salt pond. Next slide. In addition, as you saw also in the video, we have a freshwater mitigation requirement. And so this is the freshwater project that has been completed this year. And then you may have seen it along Highway 101 just before, if you're going north on 101, just before the 85 split. You see on the basically the west side of the freeway, this 7.5-acre freshwater wetland mitigation. Next slide. We're also working towards stream and watershed land preservation goals. Our board set a target for us. We don't want to just mitigate for our impacts. We want to go beyond mitigation. And so we've done that through our measure that we took to the voters. Here's an example of a project that we're working with on Stevens Creek or Stevens Canyon Ranch. Next slide. And as you also saw evidence in it, it's important to us to do good work. But it's also important that it's not just good work in our own eyes, it's good work recognized by others. And so for many of our projects that we do, our routine stream maintenance, we send out a notice to the citizens that live in the vicinity of where that work's going to be accomplished and let them know we're coming to town, and here's the contact if you have any questions or concerns. Then when the work's completed, we send out a survey to them and ask them their opinion of how did we perform if you had a chance to actually observe the performance of our work. We've done this for the last 3 years. 89%, moving average over 2,100 responses, said the completed project was a benefit to their neighborhood. And again, the projects we're talking about are restoring the streams for the natural conveyance capacity as well as doing it in an environmentally conscious way. And then the second question, 92% have said we've done a good or excellent rating for the overall job performance. Next slide. As part of our Clean Safe Creeks and Natural Flood Protection Special Tax that we took to the voters in 2000, one of the conditions we made was that we would form an independent monitoring committee to monitor the results of our progress. That committee has been meeting since 2001. They produce an annual report. It's available on the district website for anyone who wishes to see how the independent monitoring committee evaluates and views the work we've done. And our website, by the way, is valleywater.org. But here's their latest report. I think it's of this year. It says all flood protection projects are on schedule. However, the Independent Monitoring Committee remains increasingly concerned about the district's ability to complete all the projects and outcomes in light of escalating land costs and statewide capital project construction costs. The district has been proactive and has responded to these strategic challenges with initiatives that include accelerating capital project schedules via alternative project delivery methods, such as design build, and performing planning and design work in parallel, and in expediting consultant contracting, collaborating with local agencies to benchmark industry best practices, and cooperating with others local agencies on a timing of project bidding. Next slide. You saw earlier the work that Robin Grossener has done. We're proud of our affiliation with SFEI and Robin's work because it helps advance our knowledge of the stream systems so we can best plan for our future. And so we're excited about the ability to use that on our Coyote Creek, Mid-Coyote Creek project. That is an active project we're doing the planning for. Next slide. We've also been doing some long-range policy planning at the district, and it comes in two forms. You heard earlier about the stewardship planning efforts that we have completed. We're also doing what we call a comprehensive plan. You may recall that most cities are required by law to have a general plan that really outlines what's going to be the land use thinking of that city in terms of various project elements. Special districts like Santa Clara Valley Water District do not have any general plan requirement placed on us. However, we're now proceeding, though, with developing what we call a comprehensive plan that can help the cities understand what are some of the common goals that we have at Santa Clara and how can they be best integrated and applied to cities. So it's a very important connection point with our cities. Next slide. Other key elements of the success of the district are three that I'll touch upon. The first is an issue that we undertook with the cities, all the cities in the county, I think started about 2002. It was called the Water Resources Protection Collaborative. And it was an effort where we worked with the cities to develop land use practices near stream that would be better applied by cities in the district so that we could protect the stream systems. It also included the district relinquishing its regulatory responsibilities on land other than land that's owned by the district. That responsibility resides with the cities or the county. The district's responsibilities reside with our right-of-way along the streams. And to make that point clear, the district, throughout the several hundreds of miles that are miles of creek that exist in our county, only own about 30% of the creeks. The other 70% are either owned by other cities, the county, other public agencies, or private citizens. And so our responsibilities when it comes to protection reside on the 30% of the land that the district owns. The other 70% needs to be managed by the cities. And we provide technical support and resource for those cities to help them best undertake that responsibility. As an example, some of the cities never ask a developer or a citizen as they came in for their plan check if they lived near a creek. They did not require that as part of their conditions for review. We gave each city both a hard copy and an electronic copy of a GIS base that identified every creek in their city and every parcel number adjoining a creek to assist the cities to better understand and make good choices and have those citizens make good choices with regard to their land use decisions as they live adjoining the creeks. A second important element of our program is a quality management system called ISO. It's an international standards organization. The watershed program has been ISO registered for ISO 9000, which is quality management, and ISO 14000, which is environmental management, since about 2004. And we're proud of that affiliation. What it means is that we have a disciplined and systematic approach to doing our work. Does that mean that we do great work? Not necessarily, but it certainly is one element of an important feature that we need to have in order to provide for the continued development of the programs we have and do so in a way that can be replicated into the future. One of the concerns that agencies like ourselves and others have is succession planning. We have an aging workforce. How do we assure that the next generation of workers can carry forward and do the type of things that you aspire to and what we try to aspire to today? One way is to have a quality management system that helps them, the next generation of staff, understand the way things ought to be done, the way that we're doing things. At the same time, allow for process improvement. And then finally, our general manager has set a target for the district. The California Award for Performance Excellence, or CAPE, is a statewide examination of agencies to see if they do exhibit a quality program. And recently the district received a silver award. There's a bronze, silver, and gold award for your excellence as far as systems and the like. And so basically it's a fitness test. And how are you worthy with respect to the criteria that have been laid out. You may have heard of the Baldrige Quality Award. It follows a similar process as Baldrige in this formulation. Next slide. And that concludes my remarks. But before I do, though, I just want to say that the district has two main functions: water supply and flood protection. And we need to do those functions in a way that certainly respects the environment. You heard earlier about changes in our District Act that help affirm that commitment to respect for the environment. And also the district has had a strong ethic of working collaboratively with citizen groups, with groups that you all represent and others, because we recognize that it's not one size that the district decides is the best solution, but rather it's the community's decision about what they want to see best for their community. And as we've seen over time, the transition in values from maximizing development land to channelizing the flow and getting it swiftly out of your community have changed dramatically. Today we value the creek system like never before. And with that comes great responsibility and also great opportunity, because we have many creeks that still don't provide flood conveyance capacity. We have aging infrastructure, some of those other concrete channels that give us great opportunity to restore those creek systems. One such opportunity is along Permanente Creek. It's one of the Clean Safe Creek projects that were identified that we took to the voters in 2000. On that particular project, staff is proposing that we take out around 1.3 miles of concrete as part of that project. Now, it comes with other considerations, and so if some of you are interested in that project, see me afterwards or contact Boyle at the Water District to find out more about the Permanente Creek Flood Control Project. It will not only provide 1% flood protection, but can do so in a much more environmentally sensitive way. And we're proud of those type of projects that we can do. And there's many more. You heard about Robin talk about Penitentiary Creek. There's some great promise over there. We have Upper Guadalupe River that we'll be embarking on over the next few years. So we have very great opportunities to do right things, to do multi-objective, to restore the environment, and also to provide for the public health and safety of those that live residing along creeks. We do not want to have a Katrina in our county. We do not want to have failure of our levee systems. We have areas of our county that are below sea level that could be inundated by flooding, and not just shallow flooding, but deep water flooding, 7 and 8 feet. So even though we respect the environment, we also need to understand that there's a health and safety consideration from our streams. They look like very benign channels and very inviting channels, but they can be very dangerous in high flows. And so we're very cognizant of that dual responsibility we have: protect the environment and also provide for public health and safety. Again, I thank you for your time, and perhaps afterwards, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thanks.